www.youtube.com/TAPKAC, or the artist presently known as Chris. Chris is Hungry, a show involving cooking and other things. Episode 13, Second Third, Pressure Cooker Chicken. This episode is dedicated to the loving memory of David Eli Stewart. January 23rd, 25th, 1996 to March the 6th of 2018. Hello everybody, and well, welcome to tomorrow. I said I was going to do something tomorrow in the last part, so today, right now, is tomorrow. So let's, what took 24 hours? I had a 5.5-pound chicken that I seasoned with onion powder, garlic powder, paprika, minced onion, basil leaves, parsley flakes, black pepper, some meat tenderizer, which contained salt and dextrose and onion spice, and some more paprika, and other things. And so that there was the spice part, and it was drowned and soaking in a concoction of Moscato white wine, an ultra cheap and uber potent Moscato white wine, some teriyaki sauce, some sriracha sauce, some herb and garlic sauce, and finally some hot and spicy organic salsa sauce. So let's see how this turned out. Now, over the hours, I turned it over quite a bit, flipping sides and going up and down and everything else, and fortunately it didn't drip out. So I'm going to put that right there for now. And then we're going to take our pressure cooker and set that right there. And we're going to plug it in, just like an air freshener commercial. And then I'm going to take that out. And there's this little basket thing we're going to take out right here. And first, as a little foundation, I'm going to pour some of this juice concoction down there on the bottom, so the steam will rise and everything else. And there we go. Right, and then we put the basket in, and go like that, and then take out the chicken. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. I should be really rolling up my sleeves now because this is a lovely, lovely shirt. Come out of here, you stupid bird. Okay. Now it should come like that, and then you go like that. And then we're going to just pour the rest all over it. There, and here. We're going to put that there, and rinse my hands off. And then we're going to set that on the, alright, and then we're going to hit the pressure cooker button, and it's set for 33 minutes. Yeah, that's good enough. So, no, I do not want that. Alright, pressure put it in. And it should start soon enough. And it's on. So, while that's going on, as this is the continuation of my tribute to Dave, my son, well, my honorary son, my pal, my buddy, my friend, some of my friends. Well, I mentioned that a lot of times his eyes would wander, and sometimes if he zeroed into focus, that means he liked or was really interested. And well, he enjoyed the keyboard performance I did of the Stand Back from My Little Red Corvette, which I mentioned in the last segment. And since he liked that keyboard sound so much, guess who got a keyboard for Christmas? Yeah, he did. And something I had gotten for Christmas was, well, thing that he couldn't walk, and he couldn't talk. And he, even though his arms would kind of move sometimes, and if he was really excited, he might even start drumming on the armrest of his wheelchair. But he couldn't manipulate. And but he can breathe. So I got him a harmonica with one of these Bob Dylan, Neil Young things that I figured you just set on the side, and if you put it right against his lips and figured that maybe you might be able to, express some kind of language. Maybe kind of a cross between Stephen Hawking and R2D2. Make a happy sound, make a bad sound, make a sad sound, or toot twice for yes, three times for no. Well, it was an idea. He wasn't in any condition to do so, but anyway. What he picked for me was, his parents took him around shopping, and they started looking for shoes, and they would hold up one pair. Do you like these? And do you like these ones? And what do you like? And he zeroed in a locked target on these ones. Yep, and including the socks. So that was his present to me, and this is my harmonica in my holder, and so I got him his harmonica in his holder, and maybe something can happen. I didn't know at the time. Let's take a look at some pictures. Which means I'm going to move the camera. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Let's go sit on the couch. So, I had mentioned reading Shel Silverstein to him. Let's see if we can get that there. And there he is, enjoying the Shel Silverstein, Where the Sidewalk Ends. And by the way, he was on this baseball team called, with the Miracle League of the Triangle. There I am, and there's Dave, and there's Coach Kelly. And yeah, the Miracle League of the Triangle. Anybody, if you have any, it's baseball for any handicapped kids, and you know, whether even if you have prosthetic legs, or if you're blind, or if you're deaf, or if you have Down syndrome, or if you're anything whatsoever, it's absolutely anybody is allowed to be a part of this social interactivity, and actually be in front of a crowd, and if they wish, and get to sock a few dingers, and run around the base, and there were some kids there who really hit. There was one kid who he actually hit the ball like all the way to the back fence, and he didn't like that one, so they let him take it over. And so with the next shot, he had it over the fence. Yeah. And then there was this one thing that was rather amusing was this one girl who would hit the ball, and after running around the bases, well, between third and fourth base, or home plate, I should say, she would cartwheel to home plate, and then dun, 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 and then cartwheel over to the dugout. And of course, Dave was on this thing, and there's many volunteers, and buddies, and yeah, there are some people who are, here we are. There are some people who are constantly buddies, and then there are some people who are just there, just for that particular day. So I always noticed that some of the volunteers, and they would always take Dave to the to the home plate, and they would just kind of park him, put the bat, and and so many times I figured, put the bat in his hands, let him actually feel it, let him actually hit it, somehow, put it on the little, not you've heard of golf tee, the golf tee, for golf balls, it's about this big, and you put the golf ball on top, well, they have the tee for the baseball, and so before I got to be one of the buddies, they would hit the ball, and then they would wheel him around, and finally, one time, it was Memorial Day of 2013, that there were not many people around because just so many people were out for Memorial Day weekend. And they said, and finally it was suggested to me, hey Chris, why don't you do this? And I just, can I? Thank you! So I put the bat in his hands, and a one, and a two, and a boom, and then I would rocket boost him, around the bases. And after a while, and when we were in the outfield, what I would do is, hang on. Okay, here's a team picture from 2016. Now, if you look closely, you can see that the catcher's mitt is rigged to the armrest of his wheelchair. So, yeah, so I would just put the catcher's mitt, so it would constantly be like this, right? And if a ball was coming our way, I would just wheelchair, just push his wheelchair until it actually hit the hit the wheel, and that was our way of catching a ball. There was one time when someone hit the ball and actually, well, they actually bounced, you know, kind of like bounce one, bounce two, and as I'm running up to it, as we're wheeling them up to it, it actually landed right inside the catcher's mitt, and I'm thinking, please tell me somebody saw that. Please tell me somebody filmed that. Wouldn't that be brilliant for the you know, for any advertisements of the Miracle League? And so the Miracle League of the Triangle, and of course, and yeah, well, there were some other things I would do. You know, like I would, well, balls. They have a whole bunch of you know, baseballs that are just drifting about, and so sometimes I would pick up a few and I would kind of juggle a little bit, and just try to make everything fun. So yeah, here's rocket boosting around the bases. And another thing was, now Dave can't drink water, through his mouth. Everything has to go through his feeding tube. But as hot as it does get out there, what I would do is, hang on. What I would do is I would go to the cooler where they have that little button on the bottom where you're supposed to hold the cup underneath, and so I would grab a bunch of Kleenexes. And I'll put that underneath, and just wipe his brow and get it around his face, and just put some coldness on him, to cool down, from being out in the hot sun. And here we are. Let's get some coldness on you. And some coldness with that lovely smile that we all know from Dave. And there's always a after game picture. There's Lori right there. There's his cousin who, well, when he passed on, she started a fundraiser for the, to get, equipment for the Miracle League. There's Ashley. There's his other cousin right there. There's Beth right there, and myself. Now, speaking of a friend named Ashley, there was one time when Lori and Ashley brought Dave over to, we all met at this, one of those cafes that has tables outside on the sidewalk, or the pavement, for those who speak English. And he was feeling rather sick, and basically you're just kind of out of it, you just kind of, and at one point I asked Ashley, I said, do you have a cell phone? And she said, yeah. And I said, okay, do you have YouTube on it? And she said, yeah. And I said, okay, let's get it on YouTube and look for bum reviews. Bum reviews is this guy who dresses like a bum, a net cap and a dirty face and scraggly hair and a trench coat with spots and like he's actually been sleeping in the gutter. And any hit movie that comes out, he'll talk about it. He always starts with, "Oh my God, this is the greatest movie I've ever seen in my life." There's this guy who does this, and this other guy's like that, and this one guy's like, blah, 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 and this other guy's like, da, 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 da. And he tells it like an 8-year-old who saw Star Wars for the first time. The first Star Wars that came out in 1977, and saw it in 1977. And instead of having a bowl of popcorn, or a bucket of popcorn, instead there was a bucket of chocolate-covered espresso beans. So, oh my God, and this one guy's like, and this other guy's like, and then boom, 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 and stuff like that. So, So I put an episode of this show, Bum Reviews, and Dave goes from, just kind of, and then suddenly, and then he zeroed in and focused and locked target, and then started smiling. That smile he does, that. Oh, so he liked the Bum Reviews, and that actually brought him out of his funk for the moment. What else we got here? Oh yeah, well, the following Thanksgiving. No, wait, actually it was the following Christmas. So here we are watching an entire, we're watching quite a marathon of Bum Reviews. There's one for all the Twilight episodes especially, and all the adults who are also in the room are kind of overhearing, going, what are they watching? But they can see that Dave is having lots and lots of fun watching the Bum Reviews. And I think this was a different Christmas, and there's myself, and there's Dave, and there's Beth's dad, who who he was really funny. Well, one thing about Beth's parents, when it came to the baseball games, they showed up in T-shirts that actually said Dave's Fan Club, and even though they could see quite well that I'm basically a 40-something-year-old kid, and yeah, maybe an adult body, but yeah, I'm still kind of acting kid-ish, if you take my meaning. There was one time when I think it was Dave's birthday, and I got him some Ren and Stimpy cartoons, and so we're watching, and as they were saying their goodbyes, Beth's dad, Grandpa Schmidt, as he'll be known, he looks at what's on the TV, and he looks at Beth and he says, "Are you sure this is age appropriate?" And Beth looks over at Dave and says, "Well, he is 18." And Grandpa Schmidt says, "No, I mean for him," pointing at me. So that's that. But he knew I had the silly bug, and he also had the silly bug. So he would kind of play around a little bit, and he was also up for amusement. At another one of Dave's birthdays, he brought a duck call. And I said, "Hey, wait a minute, I got my harmonica in the car." So I did this, and I said, "Okay," and I know somebody has this on film, of me going to, dun, 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 and he, with the duck call, he goes, dun, 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 dun. Anyway, that's that part. Once upon a time, Dave actually came to work. Yes, and I showed him what the power saw is. That's in the background there. I'm not sure if you can see it. But there's Dave in his wheelchair, and he's got the noise-canceling headphones because the power saws are really loud and screechy and very high-pitched. And I've been wishing for so long. It's like, well, I know he goes between Lori's house and Beth's house, almost every single weekend, depending on, anyway, unless somebody's on vacation, and so someone will have them for 2 weeks. Anyway, and I always said, hey, while he's on his way from one mom's house to the other mom's house, how about you make a pit stop over where I work, and I could show them around, and and so finally, Thanksgiving of 2016, he finally made it over, and showed him to everybody. People would love to see him. There were some who were just kind of like, well, there was one guy who was at lunch, and he was eating something that required fingers, and of course you're not going to shake your hand with somebody after handling food, so, but there were some people who took a liking to him because they had heard about him, they knew about him by osmosis, they saw a few pictures, and they had heard my stories, and finally they got to meet him, and and so he enjoyed the enjoyment of their finally meeting him, and yeah, here he is with the headphones on. Well, maybe not headphones, but ear protectors. In mention of Christmas, and that picture of me with him and Grandpa Schmidt, on that Christmas I gave him 2 DVDs. There was one that had the metal. It had Judas Priest, it had Iron Maiden on it, it had Rammstein on it, it had Ozzy on it, with and without Black Sabbath, and Nightwish, and of course the well, even though the Ramones aren't metal, but still you have to have the Ramones, and some Bauhaus and other folks. And another CD I made was, I refer to it as Revenge of the Synth, because it had a lot of synthesis. It was partially new age, partially new wave, partially prog rock. It had Vangelis on it, it had Tangerine Dream on it, it had Gamma on it, it had Ultravox, it had Duran Duran, etc., and so on and so forth. Something to listen to, like maybe in the car, or maybe while he's about to go to sleep or something. And eventually, my mom came to North Carolina. And, well, Beth was elsewhere, but, here we are. Near the Thanksgiving of 2017. There's Dave right there. There's my mom. There's myself, of course. And a few months later, he turned 22. And here we are at his 22nd birthday. For his 22nd birthday, I got him 2 presents. One that he and his mom Beth could both enjoy. It was Taylor Swift and Def Leppard. He'd never heard Def Leppard, but I also got him a Def Leppard T-shirt, and it was a DVD of the episode of a show called Crossroads, where they have bands of different genres working together. Like in this case, it was Def Leppard with Taylor Swift. Who else? So Taylor Swift sings some Def Leppard songs with Def Leppard, and Def Leppard joins in on some Taylor Swift songs with Taylor Swift. And remember the Zero In and Lock Target? Yeah, his face didn't move the entire time through the entire hour. So anyway, I'll see you in the next segment when the pressure cooker goes off.